Welcome. Residents and visitors are welcome to all meetings of the Village Board. Comments and suggestions on any topic are welcome at any regular meeting. Comments may be made during the time identified for public comment on the agenda, or if the comments pertain to an agenda item at the time that item comes up for discussion. Individuals who wish to comment must be recognized by the president and then speak at the podium, and should begin by identifying themselves by name and address so that the village clerk can add this information to the meeting minutes. So welcome all that are with us this evening on this nice warm winter evening. And welcome to those watching at home on Riverside Cable, Comcast Cable Channel 6, and to those who will check out the DVD from the library or who will log on to our website and view the meeting at a later date. So thank you all for paying attention to the village business. At this point, I would ask our village clerk to please call the roll. Here.
Trustee Sussman. Here. Trustee Sells. Here. Trustee Reynolds.
Here.
Trustee Shevitz.
Here.
Trustee Satchi.
Here.
Trustee Joseph Ballerine is not present this evening, but also present at tonight's meeting, Village Manager Peter Scalera, Village Attorneys Lance Molina and Michael Mars, and Village Clerk Kathy Haley.
Thank you. We have a quorum, so we shall proceed. At this time, I will ask you to please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask Trustee Satchi to lead us in the pledge this evening.
I did it last time, but I'll do it again.
Well, you're a special guy, so you get to do it again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We shall move on. We have a few presentations this evening. We have a special item that is first, and that is the recognition for some of our young Riverside residents who have received the 2012 Youth Medal of Honor Award from Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart. This is a special award. It is given to students who complete a minimum of 100 hours of community service. It must be earned during the past school year, and this is available to high school students, and they can select this activity that they want to do, and it's giving back to the community. So I want to take an opportunity to introduce these young people to the residents of Riverside. I mean, too often we turn on the TV or open a newspaper and we hear all kinds of untold stories about students, and it's always important when we can recognize some of the good things that our Riverside residents are doing. So we have 5 students that we are recognizing this evening. Tatiana Ariziga, Jack Gibson, Shannon Lang, Abigail Louthan, and Kennedy Mistretta. So I think we have, 3 of the students are with us at this point. So if you would please all step up to the podium up there, all 3 of you guys. And if you would please do us the pleasure, smile because you're going to be on TV, and then introduce yourself, tell us where you live, what your community hours consisted of, and a little bit about where you're at in your life. If you're a senior in high school, are all you guys seniors? No. Junior? Okay. Seniors, tell us what you're up to. You know what you're thinking of doing when you finish your high school career. For those, Kennedy is not a senior, so tell us a little bit about what you're thinking of doing with your future, and let us know a little bit about yourself. So please.
I'm Abigail Louthan. I'm a senior at RB, and next year I hope to. I'm going to take a gap year before going to college, and I hope to go somewhere around the world and do missionary work, and then go to college after that. So.
I'm Shannon Lang, and I'm a senior at St. Ignatius College Prep, which is downtown. And for next year, for my future, I think I'm planning on being a linguist because I study Latin and ancient Greek in school, so I kind of want to learn more about that and possibly some modern languages.
Now, Abigail didn't tell us, Shannon, what did you do to complete your service hours?
So my service hours were primarily from my Golds Award, which I think you've probably all heard about. And it was called the Century of Trees, and we basically, the goal was to plant 100 trees in Riverside to kind of reforest and prevent a lot of damage from the emerald ash borer, and we actually ended up planting 103 trees, and we're going to have 107 come spring. And then the rest of my service hours were from working at the Ronald McDonald House and the Field Museum downtown.
Thank you.
I'm Kennedy Mistretta, and I'm a sophomore at RB, and I volunteered with the Leaders Shop. We helped the elderly, and we also helped at the Ronald McDonald House, and we perform for like little kids, and we're currently doing a project called Project Angel Tree, which is buying presents for little kids whose parents can't. And for my future, I want to do something with volunteering because I find it very beneficial when I do something for someone else, just not myself.
Well, that's very, very good, and you're definitely in the right community if you like to volunteer, let me tell you that. So, Abigail, what were your service hours?
Mine was through Girl Scouts as well, getting my gold award, or in the process of getting my gold award. I also, at school, I aid for a couple of my teachers, and but majority of it was through my gold award. So.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for these fine young people? Before I let you sit down, why don't you each tell us all what's your favorite class at 2U's RB? And then let me mention for Shannon. Shannon, I must tell for everyone here, is a repeat winner of this award from Cook County Sheriff Dart. She received this Community Service Award last year, so she's a double winner. So congratulations. And Kennedy, you're only a sophomore, so you got 2 more. You can be a triple winner before you're done. So before you sit down, just each of you tell us what's your favorite class at your high school, and what you like about it.
There's so many. Yeah, I would have to say geometry, because there's something about math that I love. It's complicated, and there's always a solution to the problem, but you have to figure it out first. It's not easy.
Sounds like you're prepping to be a village trustee at some point. Shannon?
My favorite class. I would say that I like Latin the best, I think. I just like translating, and I like reading poetry that people have read for thousands of years and been inspired by. So, yeah, I would say that's.
Abigail?
This year, my favorite class is probably Global Area Studies, and we're learning about Africa, and we learned about the Middle East, and now we're learning about Latin America. So it's really interesting to learn their history and then what's happening now modern day. So.
Well, thank you all for coming to the meeting, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Next up is our Police Chief Tom Weitzel will update the board and our residents on a new career change that has been presented to Deputy Chief John Krull.
Thank you, President Gorman and Board of Trustees. It's my honor to appear in front of you, and I asked the Deputy Chief John Krull to appear because there isn't another board meeting before John will be retiring after 25 years here in Riverside. And he's accepted a position as Chief of Police at the Village of Olympia Fields. I'd like to just tell you a little bit about that, then I'd ask John to step up and he could address the board if you'd have any questions. John started back in January of '87, and he's moved through many positions within the department, including the E911 coordinator. He was promoted to patrol sergeant in 1997, detective sergeant in 2003, operations lieutenant in 2006, and was appointed deputy chief in 2008. He's had a major role in the police department in development of our, you can see that some of the personnel that are either on duty or came in tonight to honor John are here. He's played a role in their development and development of the department. And administratively, I picked out a couple. There's too many projects for me to pick out that John's done in 25 years, but especially probably in the last 10 years as a lieutenant or above. But some projects that the board might know about I picked is we recently redid our entire general orders, which was not only John's project, but was his initiative. The document is well over 400 pages. In addition to that, he was able to secure half of the funding through our insurance carrier to pay for that. You should know that the deputy chief came to me with that project. I didn't go to him. It took him over 16 months to get the project done. He also instituted a field training program for the department, which delineates what progress the officers are making during their, rookie officers during their probation. He developed what are called DORs, their daily observation reports. We did not have those before. So every day our field training officers document our new officers' progress, and really to see whether they're viable and whether we're going to keep them, and they make our training program. There's many, many hours put in, and that program directly results in the successful officers that you see standing behind or standing at the back of the room. He currently is still on the 911 board. John actually won't be leaving till the first week of January, but there isn't another board meeting, so that's why I asked him to come tonight. I'd like to tell you a little bit about his new position, and then I'll have John step up. If you don't know, he has been accepted a position as police chief in Olympia Fields. It was a national search conducted by the Illinois chiefs. There were, I believe, over 100 candidates, and they whittled it down to 6 and then to 3, and then they asked John to accept the position. I think that speaks to his character and his education. We're talking about individuals that applied throughout the United States. The executive director of the Illinois Chiefs told me on the phone they had numerous out-of-state applicants for this position. It's one of the highest number of resumes submitted to the IACP in the last 5 years. The position was very sought after by many, either current law enforcement executives or those that wanted to be. And then John got to be the #1 candidate. I've worked with John for 25 years. He's a friend, a loyal employee. He'll be missed, that's for sure. His parents still live here in Riverside, so I don't think he'll be gone too much. But he has a challenge in front of him because he has an opportunity to shape Olympia Fields. It's a long process. Their chief announced his retirement in July, and they just asked him to take this appointment within the last 2 weeks. So it shows you how far it took the village of Olympia Fields to get to their selection. So I'm going to step aside and have John address the board. If you have any questions, you could ask John directly.
Thank you, Chief. Very nice, kind words. I very much appreciate it. For those of you that really know me, you know that I started working here when I was in college, working for the water department, digging ditches for Kevin Walter. That was an experience in and of itself. I'm glad that portion is over. I went off to college not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, and lo and behold, ended up right back here at the village where I've been ever since. Every day I'm thankful for that opportunity and the twist of fate that brought me back here. I'm truly grateful for that. Serving the residents of the village has indeed been an honor and a privilege. Know that the list of people to thank and recognize is too long for this meeting. You will be here forever if I start thanking everybody individually. I would be remiss if I did not thank my family and the residents for their support during my 25 years here. The village manager is an outstanding leader who has assembled an excellent management team, a team any village would be proud to have and should be treated as the valuable assets they are, for their institutional and historical knowledge is not easily replaced. I respect and admire Chief Weitzel and owe him a debt of gratitude for putting up with me for 25 years and for always being the law enforcement professional that he is. I'd like to thank everybody that's here today. I leave you and the village in very good hands with a very bright future, and wish to thank all the residents and all of my village co-workers for making the village of Riverside the great place that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Weitzel and Deputy Chief Kroll, and thank you to your many members of your department who are here as a tribute to your leadership and respect within the department. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Chief, do you have anything further?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on at this point, is there anybody who would like to address the board at this point? Yes, Alex.
Alex Galios, 3234 South Harlem. Good evening, Mr. President, trustees, those in attendance, and to those watching at home. Sir, I come before you on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to publicly thank all those who came out last Friday and enjoyed the holiday stroll. We also want to thank Mother Nature, who was on our side and gave us beautiful weather. And of course, Peter, for all that you've done, helping with scheduling Santa's arrival, the lights on the water tower, and of course, Ben, you who serve at the post of liaison to the Chamber, and everything you've done over the year. So thank you, sir. We remind everyone to continue shopping locally, patronizing local businesses. There are some great stocking stuffers available at Aunt Diana's, timeless pieces at Higgins Glass, classics at Arcade Jewelers. The holiday season is now back in full swing. Santa is back at the North Pole. Spider-Man is back in Hollywood for his next movie. And of course, we wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alex. It certainly was a pleasant and fun evening for all of our residents. Thank you to the Chamber. Anybody else? Mr. Spatney?
Donald Spatney, 111 Woodside. People are taller than me here. I wanted to come and make a couple of comments that are due now. One is that I think that people in the village ought to really thank Lonnie and Jim for all the effort they put in on that Swan Pond project. As you know, I was one of the most vocal, if not the most ardent critics, and I regret the loss of some of the trees, but I have to say it really is far better than anything I thought would come out of that. And it was due to a lot of arguments, because I heard them, by proxy anyway. And the Corps is not an easy outfit to deal with. And I really think we got the best deal in the Swan Pond that we could have gotten. And we wouldn't have gotten it if those two guys hadn't put in all the effort, aggravation, time, etc. So when people are down there enjoying that, I don't think we ought to put a plaque there for them, but I think we should, because we'd misspell it in Italian for Lonnie. But we should pay attention to that. And others, I'm sure, chipped in and everything, but those guys really put in a lot of work. We'll see what the river does when it rises and falls. I will come back again and tell you what I think about that. Then another thing I noticed was online, the financial information, and I went through it pretty thoroughly, but I won't claim to understand all of it. But it seems like the village is in really great shape financially. And that was what was spoken about 4 years ago when we had the previous election. And I would say that it's a mission accomplished. That's a phrase you don't want to use too much, thinking of Mr. Bush. But it is. And since I see that the losers in the election are not are talking about not or maybe canceling the home mortgage interest, it might be an idea to think about kicking back or not taxing, using some of that reserve to not tax the village residents for the next 6 months or something like that, and give them a little shot in the arm back, because I think they're going to get screwed by the Congress, or particularly the House. So that's just something that might be thought of. You know, the reason I brought this to mind is I went into Riverside Foods on the weekend, and there was somebody out there with a petition signing, and I looked at the petition, and it was for some of the candidates who are going to run for office, which is great. And we should certainly have you know, contested elections. I don't like the other kind. And I was just looking at and thinking about some of the policies that were talked about 4 years ago and contested, and what's come to pass. And it's really interesting to me to see how much better off we are now than we are then, and we're going through very, very tough times. You couldn't have picked 4 worse years to operate in. So I think, you know, we should bear that in mind as we go forward. And if it seems that Riverside has 2 entities, District 96, which has tons of money, and the village, which has got pretty good reserves now. So maybe we could ease up a little bit on all the residents, and it might be something to consider in the future. And I just leave you with that thought, and maybe that'll get hashed out a little more. But anyway, it's been a good positive outcome, I think, for this last period. So that's all I wanted to say. I'd like to come and say something positive, right?
Well, and see, and all the yelling you did at us about the Swan Pond, we actually took up one of your suggestions, which was paving the path out to the stairs at that one point. And I went down there this weekend and saw people actually sitting out there and enjoying the park.
And my offer still stands to donate the benches for there, even though you didn't say it. And the other thing I want to say is we've got a great muscovy duck that comes down there now. He flew in from somewhere, I don't know where. He's dark and he's beautiful. People should go down there and look at him. He's with all the other guys. And his name is Milo. He's only his name is Milo. Yeah, no, he's not an Okie. No, he's not an Okie. He's an Okie.
The holiday stroll presented an opportunity for me to see a lot of residents who echoed your comments about Swan Pond and Hoffman Dam. And I did tell them the river is a dynamic animal, and we have to keep our fingers crossed that it plays out the way it appears to be playing out. But the weather has helped. It has allowed our residents to get down there for the past couple of months, and maybe even longer in the way things are looking.
I mean, you guys are able to bring us summer in December, so I mean, that right?
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to address the board?
Rich Ray, 262 Lionel. As you know, because I come to these meetings if I can, I keep an eye on you people. I've been doing that for a long, long time. I don't know whether this is your last meeting before the holidays, but in case it is, I just want to thank you all for the job that you've done for this village in the last several years since you've been on this board here. And especially I want to thank Lonnie Sachi and Mr. Reynolds for their outstanding efforts that they put forth. I'm sure that we wouldn't be anywhere near what we have today in Swan Pond without their supreme effort. I'm surprised, frankly. It's going to take us a couple, 2-3 years to see how it really plays itself out, but it looks pretty good right now. And I just wanted everybody to know how thankful I am for the effort that you people, and frankly past board members, I'm not saying that this is unusual, have put forward on behalf of this village for the grand total salary of nothing. You know, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Anybody else?
Mr. President, we have a guest tonight. Several months ago, we had talked about having an ongoing kind of spotlight on Riverside series where our local businesses would come and talk about their businesses. And I'm glad that we finally have somebody who wanted to come do it. And so Margot Rodriguez from Coveney Lane is here, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her company, and I hope she's the first of many to come in the coming months. Welcome, Margot.
Thank you. Well, Ben, I want to thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having Spotlight on Business. It's kind of nice. And the other thing I want to say is I'm Margot Coveney Rodriguez, and I own Coveney Lane, and it's at 30 East Burlington. And I've been here 10 years now, and I want to thank all my wonderful, loyal customers that have been coming in. And so to celebrate my 10th anniversary, anything that's in stock, if you get to $100, is 10% off. And I have beautiful purses, and they run 10 to 15% off. And I think that something that people don't know is I also sell tours to Ireland and Scotland and England. And if you book through the Irish shop organization I belong to, then it's 5% off. And you can't get that particular discount through any other way. And I also sell gold wedding bands. Most of them are from Ireland, some with diamonds. I sell sterling silver, purses, home cleaning, fresh wave, art glass, Polish pottery. And now I have Scottish rugs and rugs from Sweden. I have Swedish linens and glassware, boxes and frames. And a lot of you will be familiar with what I have. And also the concept of shopping locally. In 2009, the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with a little blurb that if you shop locally, 68 cents of every dollar stays in the community either through salary, taxes, rent, or through some way or another. So it's really important for our community, if you can find it in your heart, to stroll downtown and shop locally. And so I hope you can stop by Coveney Lane and peruse my store, hopefully for some of your holiday purchases and throughout the year. And again, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Margot. Is there anybody else at this time? If not, we shall continue on. Next up is the reports of the village officers. I have two items that I want to mention. First is a proclamation that I will issue on behalf of the village that we do in December, and it is to designate December as Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas motor vehicle crashes killed 918 people in Illinois in 2011, and many of those crashes involved a driver impaired by alcohol and/or drugs. Whereas the December holiday season is traditionally one of the most deadly times of the year for impaired driving, and for thousands of families across the state and nation, holidays are a time to remember loved ones who are lost. Whereas organizations across the state and the nation are participating in the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over and other campaigns that foster public awareness of the dangers of impaired driving and law enforcement efforts to curb impaired driving. And whereas the Village of Riverside is proud to partner with the Illinois Department of Transportation's Division of Traffic Safety and advocacy groups in that effort to make our streets and roadways safer. Now, therefore, I, Michael C. Gorman, President of the Village of Riverside, do hereby proclaim that December 2012 is Drunk and Drug Driving Prevention Month in Riverside. And I do hereby call upon all citizens, government agencies, business leaders, hospitals, schools, public and private institutions to promote awareness of the impaired driving problem, to support programs and policies to reduce the incidence of impaired driving, and to promote safer and healthier behaviors regarding the use of alcohol and other drugs this December holiday season, as well as throughout the entire year. So, thank you. And next, I wanted to report on the status of the visit this April to the Village of Riverside by the American Planning Association. We announced this at a previous meeting that we approached the American Planning Association, which is a national trade organization for planners based out of Chicago, and their annual meeting this year is being held in Chicago. Along with CMAP, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, we made an application to the American Planning Association to host a visit of the planners to Riverside as part of their annual convention. We've been notified by the APA, American Planning Association, that April 16th has been selected for Riverside to host what's called a mobile workshop. They will bring a host of their planners out here. We will organize a lecture and a tour through the village. There'll be some meetings coming up between the APA, CMAP, and our Historical Society and the Frederick Law Homestead Society to coordinate the agenda for that meeting. So that's something we can all look forward to as spring, if we ever lose winter, that is, and then spring finally comes along. So that will be April 16th. So, and with that, I will now turn to Village Manager Scalera.
I only have one item, and that is to let the board know, as well as those watching, that the 2013 schedule of village boards and commission meetings is now available on the village website at www.riverside.il.us.
You got any story to tell us from the holiday stroll?
No, that it was, everyone had fun. The weather was great. It was nice to see almost every establishment busting with people, and hopefully it'll continue.
Thank you. And Village Attorney Lance Molina. Thank you, Lance. Moving on is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda for this evening is the approval of the bills of December 3, 2012, approve Village Board of Trustees ComEd special meeting minutes from November 19, 2012, approve public hearing of the 2012 tax levy of the Village of Riverside and Riverside Public Library, which was held on November 19th. Approve public hearing proposed budget for the fiscal year 2013 Village of Riverside, and those are the minutes from November 19th. Approve Village Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes from November 19th. File and review Riverside Historical Commission meeting minutes of October 23rd, 2012, and file and review Riverside Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2012. Is there any trustee that requires any item to be removed for discussion?
Mr. President, Trustee Sachi had called me earlier today to indicate that on page 3 of the regular Village Board meeting minutes, under item 8 of his report, number 2, the second to last sentence, which currently reads, Trustee Sachi said that it was unwise to assume the fiscal year will always end with a surplus since expenses continued to exceed revenues. If the part from expenses to revenues should be stricken and replaced with always end with a surplus since the rate of increase in expenditures is outpacing the increase in revenue.
Is that it? Correct? So if, unless anyone has an issue with that, we will include those minutes as amended with that one change that was read by Peter for us. So with that, I will ask for a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. So moved. Second. So we have a motion by Trustee Reynolds and a second by Trustee Shevitz. If you would please call the roll.
Trustee Sussman. Aye. Trustee Sells.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Aye.
Trustee Shevitz.
Aye.
Trustee Sachi.
Aye.
Thank you, and the consent agenda is adopted. Moving on to the reports of board chairpersons, we have Finance, Personnel, and Preservation, Trustee Sachi.
Thank you. The first item I have this evening is the second reading of the tax levy ordinance for the year 2012, which is collected in 2013 for the Village of Riverside and the Riverside Public Library. The Village Board reviewed the estimate of the 2012 property tax levy, which was announced pursuant to state law at the November 5th, 2012 Board of Trustees meeting. The public notice for the tax levy hearing was published in the Landmark newspaper on November 7th, 2012, and the 2012 tax levy will be collected in 2013. The 2012 tax levy for the Village of Riverside is $4,426,273 for corporate purposes and police pension, and $966,973 for debt service, of which $420,603 will be abated, for a total village levy of $4,972,643. The 2012 tax levy for the Riverside Public Library in the amount of $996,700 was approved by the Riverside Public Library Board of Trustees at their last board meeting on November 20th, prior to the village's adoption of the ordinance this evening. So I motion that the board approve the tax levy ordinance for the year 2012 for the Village of Riverside, Illinois, and the tax levy ordinance for the year 2012 for the Riverside Public Library, both of which are to be collected in 2013.
Second. So we have a motion by Trustee Sachi and a second by Trustee Shevitz for the second reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I would ask that you please call the roll.
Trustee Sosno.
Aye.
Trustee Sal.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Aye.
Trustee Shevitz.
Aye.
Trustee Satchi.
Aye.
Thank you, and that ordinance is adopted. Next.
Next item I have is the second reading of the ordinance adopting the 2013 budget for the Village of Riverside and the Riverside Public Library. The budget cycle began in July for village staff and in August for the village board. On August 20th, 2012, staff presented to the village board a 5-year financial forecast and a 10-year capital improvement plan. From this meeting, staff then reviewed the capital needs of the village and made capital requests for fiscal year 2013 that were discussed on September 17th, 2012. Staff incorporated the village board recommendations and policy decisions from those two meetings when presenting a recommended budget on September 25th of 2012 at the village board budget workshop. All changes from this meeting, the village board meeting on October 15th and November 5th of 2012, are incorporated in the schedule that's included in this document in addition to the policy progression. The public notice for the budget hearing was published in the Landmark newspaper on November 7th, 2012. The hearing and first reading of the budget ordinance was during the regular meeting on November 19th, 2012, with adoption scheduled for this evening. The Riverside Public Library's budget and levy were discussed on October 9th, 2012, and was approved by their board on November 20th of 2012. The budget is the main policy document of the village and one of the most important as it identifies the services to be provided and their funding sources. The general fund changes from a surplus of $630 in the published proposed budget documentation for the budget workshop on September 25th to a surplus of $16 in this revised budget. The following table summarizes the proposed budgets for all of the village's funds in the library, which is on the back side of this page. And so I would motion that we adopt the 2013 budget for the Village of Riverside and the Riverside Public Library.
Second.
So we have a motion by Trustee Satchi and a second by Trustee Shevitz for the second reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion?
Mike, for the last couple of years, I've asked that these be separated out, so they'd be two different votes. I'd like to ask, please, my fellow trustees, if we could separate that out, the two votes again.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you want to revise?
Yes, so I'll revise my motion to reflect Trustee Sussman's request.
Thank you, Lenny.
So then,
do you need a second on that? If you do, go ahead and second.
thank you. So we have a motion and a second, and we will consider the budget for the Village of Riverside first. So is there any discussion on that item?
The only thing I would like to say, and this really just reiterates something that I've said now for the last 4 years, and maybe it's kind of a counterpoint to what Mr. Spatney was saying. I think that this budget is the best budget that our staff could possibly have given us, given the constraints that we placed upon them. But I also think that it continues what I really consider to be kind of a no plan, no policy approach to budgeting. And what concerns me about this budget and the prior budgets is, the basic problem with the budget is, in my view, it doesn't budget. It doesn't actually allocate the resources we have to our known current and future needs. It seems to me that the last 4 years that the budget process has almost been fixated on inflating our unassigned reserves, and I think that misrepresents the nature of our finances, and I think it's bad policy. But having said that, I think staff did a remarkable job meeting our requirements, and for that reason, I will support the budget.
Any other comments? If not, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Sosno.
No.
Trustee Sal.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Aye.
Trustee Shevitz.
Aye.
Trustee Satchi.
Aye.
Thank you, and that budget ordinance is adopted. Next that we will have, that's for the village. Now we have the motion from trustee Sachi with the second from trustee Shevitz for adoption of the budget for the Riverside Public Library. So is there any discussion on that item? If not, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Sussman.
Aye.
Trustee Sutton.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Aye.
Trustee Shevitz.
Aye.
Trustee Sachi.
Aye.
Thank you, and that budget ordinance is adopted on behalf of the Riverside Public Library. Next.
Next item I have is the second reading of property tax abatement ordinances for 2012 property tax levy, which is collected to pay the principal and interest on Series 2011 general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue sourced for the water system, and Series 2005 general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue sourced for the water system. The above referenced bonds were issued in 2011 and 2005 respectively. Property taxes were to be levied through 2022 and 2018 as part of the bond ordinances to provide security for the bondholders. The Village of Riverside has adequate funds in the Water and Sewer Fund to cover the debt service payments for the tax levy year 2012 and therefore wishes to abate the property tax levy related to these bonds as intended at the issue date. The 2013 Water and Sewer Fund budget includes the expenditures for the above referenced debt payments. And I move that the board adopt the ordinance abating the tax here to levied for the year 2012 to pay the principal and interest on $2,175,000 general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue sourced, Series 2011 of the Village of Riverside, Cook County, Illinois, and also an ordinance abating the tax hereto levied for the year 2012 to pay the principal of an interest on $2,565,000 general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue sourced, Series 2005 of the Village of Riverside, Cook County, Illinois.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by trustee Sachi, a second by trustee Shevitz on both of these property tax abatement ordinances, and this is a second reading of these ordinances. Or is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll ask if you please call the roll.
Trustee Sussman.
Aye.
Trustee Sutton.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Aye.
Trustee Shevitz.
Aye.
Trustee Sachi.
Aye.
Thank you, and both of those tax abatement ordinances are adopted.
Thank you. The next item I have is a first reading of an ordinance to provide for non-participation of the Village of Riverside in certain assessment relief provided by the Property Tax Code for historic buildings and for certain residence structures located within the Riverside Landscape Architectural District. Since 1999, the Village of Riverside has opted out of the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency's property tax assessment freeze program for historic residences, which applies to owner-occupied single-family homes, condominiums, cooperative units, or multifamily buildings up to 6 units. Under the program, the assessed valuation of the historic property is frozen for 8 years at its level the year rehabilitation began, provided the property owners can show a minimum investment of 25% of the property's market value as determined by the county assessor. The valuation then is brought back to market level over a period of 4 years. In 2001, the Preservation Commission reviewed this ordinance and its possible effect on Riverside. The Commission did not object to approval of the attached ordinance. The Illinois Property Tax Code requires that the Village Board take action to opt out of this assessment relief program within the first 30 days of each calendar year. If the Village Board wishes to take this action, the Village Board will have to adopt the attached ordinance by the time of the January 21st, 2013 board meeting. This is merely a first reading. No action on our part is required this evening.
So thank you. Is there any discussion on this item which has been before us each year?
Not now, but next time we will be.
Well, then we can have that discussion at that point also. So hearing nothing, we shall move on as this was a first reading, and we shall move to your last item, I believe.
Yes, the last item I have this evening is, once again, a first reading only of an ordinance amending Title 8, Section 8-6-2, concerning water service charges of the Village of Riverside, Illinois, Village Code. In late 2011, the village was notified by the Village of McCook that they would be raising the purchase price of our water as a result of the increase being implemented by the City of Chicago. Effective January 1st, 2012, the City of Chicago increased the Village of McCook's rate by 25% to $2.51 per 1,000 gallons consumed. This cost was then passed on to the village, increasing our rate by 20% to $3.42 per 1,000 gallons, or $2.56 per 100 cubic feet, 748 gallons being equal to 100 cubic feet. Recently, the village received notice from the Village of McCook regarding subsequent rate increases by the City of Chicago. The City of Chicago has notified the Village of McCook of a 14.7% rate increase in 2013, a 15.3% increase in 2014, and an increase of 14.8% in 2015. The Village of McCook must increase water commodity rates paid by communities that purchase water to pass on these costs. Effective January 1st, 2013, the village's water rate commodity will increase by 12.2% to $3.84 per 1,000 gallons, or $2.87 per 100 cubic feet. This ordinance will increase the village's current water rate from $8.26 per 100 cubic feet to $8.57 per 100 cubic feet, an increase of 31 cents per unit, a unit being 100 cubic feet, or 3.8%. And again, this is a first reading and no action required on our part this evening.
Is there any discussion on this water rate increase, which is a result of the water rate increases that is put upon all suburban purchasers of water from the City of Chicago? Trustee Sussman?
Hi, yes, Peter, this is for the village manager. What does this translate into approximately for an average water bill then? Well, I forgot what percentage is on water versus the maintenance. Do you know?
Just multiply your average cubic feet by the new rate, proposed rate, versus the old one, which was 8.26.
No, I understand that. That wasn't my question. My question was the total water bill. What will happen to the total water bill? Not just the water part of the water bill, but you know, there are two parts to our water bill. Let me rephrase that. For the next meeting, could you just come with that information so that our residents will understand the approximate effect it'll have on their water bill?
Right. The sewer rate is $1.25. So you add that to this.
Okay.
But I can get.
That's fine. That's good.
The average effect.
Nope, that's fine. Thanks.
There's a chart on the next couple pages, if you see it, Jean.
Oh, right. Thank you.
So that spells it out. The current rates, the 2013 rates, the 2014 rates, and the 2015, if we adopt, if we pass along the rate increases.
Is there anything further?
Yes, I just want the board to join me in extending our condolences to the Foley family this evening on the death of a longtime member of the Preservation Commission, Nancy Foley.
Thank you, Trustee Sachi. And then this water rate ordinance will come before us. Trustee Sachi, anything further?
I do not.
There are no other items of business listed on the agenda, so I will just turn to the trustees if you have anything anybody cares to add at this meeting. Trustee Reynolds?
I would just like to say that as a result of our last special meeting with ComEd, I had one of the crew chiefs out in front of my house today, and just serendipitously, he was inspecting the lines behind my home, and was quite responsive and explained a lot of the mindset for how these lines are set up and some of the problems that they fight on a regular basis when they do have an outage. And I must say it was very interesting to hear it from their point of view and how hard these fellows work. He can be called out to Rockford or to somewhere downstate. He doesn't know from day to day. He has to carry 3 days of clothing with him when he does this. along with his crew, and they will work tirelessly on 16-hour shifts until they restore the power. So next time your power goes out, just be a little bit more tolerant. He also told us that, I'm sure this could take place through the village manager's office, that they would be happy to send somebody out in a situation where they can explain to residents what's taking so long in some instances. The problems are quite circuitous, so to speak, and I think they were very forthcoming in sharing their information. So I just want to thank them for that.
Thank you. Trustee Sell.
Circuitous?
Yeah.
Well, just to follow up on that, I mean, I don't doubt that those repair people work very hard, but 4 days after our last meeting when they were here talking about the circuits, we had another power outage in exactly the same place we've been having power outages. So, you know, the workers notwithstanding, I would actually like them to respond to some of the needs that we've been telling them now for years. The only other thing, though, that I'd like to add is to reiterate what Alex and Margot said about the importance of shopping locally here in this holiday season. You know, please turn your thoughts to our local businesses, our stores, and our restaurants when you're thinking about holiday giving, and you know, get that 68 cents per dollar coming back to Riverside. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Just one quick thing.
Yes, please.
Thursday night, here in this room, 7 p.m., Economic Development Commission meeting.
Anything further? If not, that finishes the business on our agenda for this evening, so I will ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
So move.
So a motion by Trustee Reynolds.
Second.
I thought we weren't going to get a second there for a minute. A second by Trustee Shevitz. If you would please call the roll.
Trustee Sutton.
Aye.
Trustee Sutton.
Aye.
Trustee Reynolds.
Aye.
Trustee Shevitz.
Aye.
Trustee Zach.
Aye.
Thank you, and the meeting is adjourned.